Hi, it's me, Kelly here, and in today's video I'm going to be answering a question that I had come through after my last video, intrinsic and extrinsic motivation in language learning. And this is a fantastic question, and it comes from Katie. So Katie, thank you so much for asking. And Katie asks, is it possible to turn extrinsic motivation into intrinsic motivation? And just to give you a bit of a backstory, Katie is having to learn French at school. She's not enjoying it at all, but she has to keep it up to pass her exams. So this was an excellent question and was not something I'd ever really thought about before. So I'm glad you asked, because it made me do a lot of thinking about it. So my short answer is yes, I think it could be possible to turn extrinsic motivation into intrinsic motivation. Because there are some times where we have to learn a language that we're not necessarily passionate about. Obviously, it's much better when you're in a situation if you can learn a language that you're extrinsically passionate about, or intrinsically, passionate about from the beginning. But if you're not, I think it might be possible to turn that extrinsic motivation, having to learn it for, your logical reasons for work, or to add a skill to your resume. I think it can be possible to turn it into an intrinsic motivation. So how would I go about it? The first thing I would do is I would look at what my hobbies are. So for instance, I'm interested in golf. So if I had to learn French, I would try to find articles on golf in French, or I would go onto Google and I would look at golf courses in France, and I'd look at the vocabulary that they were using, and I try to build up my interest for French that way. So I'd look at the vocabulary and the sentence structures and then dissect them. So that's how I would try to get a bit of intrinsic motivation for the language. And you could do the same if you're interested in cooking. You can, find French recipes on the internet, or if you're interested in a particular point in history, you could try to find articles on that in French. And for beginners, yes, these things are going to be difficult, but what you can do is you can take the article, take it word for word, and then sentence for sentence, and dissect it that way. Although you might not be necessarily interested in the language, you will be interested in the topic. So I'm not necessarily interested in French, but I'm interested in golf. So that would be what would be driving me to learn and driving me to be around the language. The second thing I would do, which I think is even more powerful, is I would try to build up a connection with somebody that you can talk to in that language, because I think the biggest reason and the most powerful reason for wanting to learn a language is to connect with people, is to use it with people. So italki is a great place to start, because you can find language partners and community tutors on there. I would try to steer clear of the traditional teachers, because if you're trying to build up passion and intrinsic motivation for a language, grammar is not really going to do that, and the traditional teachers will be more focused on the grammar and the traditional way of language learning, so how you're learning at school. So you want somebody who you can practice conversation with and who you're interested in speaking to as a person. So I did make a video on this. I think it's called How to Find People to Speak to or something, but I'll pop a card or a link in the description. So when you're looking for somebody to talk to, a language partner, it wants to be somebody who, if you both spoke the same language, you'd still want to speak to that person. So trying to build up a bit of an emotional connection with the language. And the third thing I would think about is, it's very easy when you're learning a language to get stuck in your own little bubble, and I've been very guilty of this recently with my Afrikaans. It's very easy to stay stuck at your desk with your books and with your CDs and just do listening and writing and reading and not really use the language. And that's a really easy way to get yourself bored and demotivated, because the magic of language happens when you actually use it. And nothing feels better than speaking to somebody and thinking like, holy, I'm actually speaking in this language, whatever the language might be. So you need to get that spark, because that's going to help to motivate you as well. So yeah, I would say start with those 3 things. So 1, think about what your hobbies are, and your interests are, and try to find material on that in the language that you're having to learn. 2, try to find somebody that you can connect with and talk to in that language. And if they share your same interests as well, that's even more powerful. And then 3, use the language. This obviously goes hand in hand with number 2, finding someone to talk to. So don't stay shut in your room learning your language. Use the language, whether it be verbally talking to somebody, or with the internet now, you can find French Facebook groups or German Facebook groups or whatever your target language might be, and try to interact with them online. It's less scary typing it, but the actual speaking face to face or speaking over Skype is going to be much better for you. So try those things. If anybody else watching has any more ideas, then please share them. We'd love to know. And yeah, Katie, let me know what your experiences were, and thank you for the question. If anybody else has any more questions, then please feel free to ask. If this video has been helpful, then please give it a like and feel free to share it as well. And I'll see you next time. Bye for now.